and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So, obviously, we all know what happened on February 19th. There was this large anti-war movement, Rage Against the War Machine. I'm proud to say that not only did Hard Lens Media do its due diligence and interview the two main organizers, one, the leader of the People's Party, Nick Brana, and then Angela of the Libertarian Party, obviously, People's Party, Libertarian Party. They were setting it up. We spoke to the two main organizers. We spoke to people like Jimmy Dore, Supreme from Wu-Tang, Tara Reid, Garland Nixon, and so many others. Obviously, finding out, well, what's happening on February 19th? And obviously, since then, there's been a lot of people in the Vote Blue No Matter Who crowd that want to do their own little correct version of an anti-war protest. And the thing is, with the aftermath of it, a lot of the main speakers, including somebody who was on our show not once but twice, Jose Vega, was being smeared by corporate media. Now, obviously, I've spoken to Jose. He has been an outstanding guest, and we all know him from his most notable work when he confronted Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on October 12th of 2022. And in case all of you don't know what I'm talking about specifically, I want to play this video. Now, this is what it looks like to raise the ruckus. And we have to remember that a lot of progressive Democrats that we elected into the House told people, a lot of their supporters, that they need to raise the ruckus and even hold them accountable. But when confronted, well, they're told that they're being rude. So again, I'm looking on Get Forward. In fact, after this show, I'll be messaging Jose. And if you're watching this, Jose, Hard Lens Media would like to have you back on because I know you're dealing with a lot. So, and also for those of you who might not notice as well, but Jose did participate and speak at the Rage Against the War Machine. So shout out to him and all the good work. So let's play this video.
None of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party.
Now, we've all seen this video. AOC then tells him, hey, he's being rude. And since then, not only Jose, but a lot of his outstanding colleagues confronted other Democratic, both corporate and quote-unquote progressive lawmakers. And a lot of them were just dismissive. But I have to say, if you want to raise the ruckus, you got to do so. And now, I want to pull up this video. It's on Fox News, of all places. But listen. Even Fox News, I hate to say it, a broken clock can be right twice a day, but hold on, take it with a grain of salt. But anyways, I urge our audience, look, if you are going to be swayed, and I know my audience is smart, I know all of you, I got some great big brain people here. First of all, I've done not one, but 2 interviews with Jose. Jose has also been on RBN. After this live stream show, if you've missed it, if you haven't had a chance to see it, check out the interviews that we have done with Jose. And obviously, it's quite clear that he's being smeared. And so I want to pull this video up.
And on the left, anti-war protesters have been shaming their own party. Remember a few months ago, AOC got hit?
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against.
And this week, Biden was ambushed while eating dinner under a sheep.
President Biden, I hate to bother you. We need to end this war in Ukraine. We need to push for negotiation.
Now, look. Obviously, I don't want to be, and I'm saying obviously a lot. Look, I don't want to make too much fun of Biden. Look, but again, he's quite clearly a very old individual, and I only can hear him saying, "What was that? Say again."
Yeah, it looks like a crowded restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, but this is a perfect way to also the image of how we can look at our current president. He's eating while inflation's on the rise, war is happening all around us, and we are a crumbling empire that is destined to meet the same fate of Byzantium. But, good on these activists and organizers for actually confronting these Democratic lawmakers who put on this neoliberal mask of pretending that they care. I want to play a little bit more, but Lauren, I want to get your thoughts real quick, too.
I mean, I applaud these people for speaking out because like we've talked to people on this show before who explain that at these Q&A sessions, for instance, everything is handpicked ahead of time. It's so scripted. It's so sanitized that the only way you can get your questions, the real questions asked, is to shout them out. So because I had wondered about that before too. It's because the reason I feel like, from what I remember, is that she said that he was being rude is because she was in the middle of answering somebody else's question. But at the same time, if there's no other way to get your question out, she can go back and answer that person's question. There's no reason she can't pause and then, respond pretty again, the way that he wanted her to respond to that was, I'm against the war machine. That's it's a simple thing to at least say. I do think it's interesting that a lot of these people who are getting called out, they won't even say, they won't even try and appease the person who's doing the shouting. So it's just makes them seem incompetent. And it makes the other people angrier. Which, I don't know, is that their point? Is it to make the people who are asking the questions seem unhinged by just them progressively getting louder about it? Because they just seem to just be ignoring everything, and they refuse to come and meet us where we stand.
Well,
which is just insulting.
I want to say this, especially for those, who, let's face it, Trump was a god-awful president. I see him as a reality TV show clown, but he knew how to manipulate people and also trigger people into voting and supporting for him. I mean, Dave Chappelle's analysis of him on Saturday Night Live was perfect. He told the American people the truth. Hey, the system's rigged. Why? Because I use it. And when Hillary Clinton said this man doesn't pay his taxes, he said, I'm smart. And he then pushed back and said, I know it. They'll never change it, the Democrats, because their friends or corporate donors use it too. And notice the silence from people like AOC or Biden. They take your votes for granted. They don't like you. They don't think about you. They don't respect you. You think they care about Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness or the military industrial complex? No, they say things you want to hear, like an abusive partner. And then once you do what they say, they go right back to smacking you around. So this is a perfect image of how Democratic lawmakers really think of their voting base and anyone that's progressive. So if you're progressive and you're voting a Democrat out of fear because, the boogeyman Republicans, well, I hate to say it, but you're in an abusive relationship. Take off your sunglasses and show me your shiner.
I hate to bother you, but people are dying.
And now Hakeem Jeffries, the guy who replaced Nancy, was slammed against the boards by his own people, New York leftists. They wanted to know what he was going to do about the bombshell report that Biden secretly blew up Russia's natural gas pipeline during NATO training exercises.
If it is proven that the United States bombed the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, as has been asserted by Seymour Hersh and his article, will you call for the United States to acknowledge and admit that that was an act of war against Germany and Russia. And I'm asking this because this may be the only way to prevent the rest of us from being killed in a thermonuclear war. And I don't want to be fried. Don't you think the media should be reporting on whether or not this is true? And don't you think you should be inquiring into whether or not this is true?
Also, by the way, again, and I want Jose to talk more about this as well, if he chooses to, but he was fired from his job due to the fact that I guess his employers found out that he was protesting and calling out these lawmakers, to which I got to say, hey, Democratic Party, are you being vindictive and going after a sovereign private citizen because they're being critical of you? The whole job of a politician is to be criticized, to be called out. Are you doing your job? You know, these senators and House representatives and governors and presidents aren't kings and lords, but I guess we are entering into that because we are in an oligarchy. So this should be an eye-opening moment for a lot of Democratic voters and Republican voters. Do you really think you're in a democracy? Do you really think you have a seat at the table? Do you really think so? It's sort of like, come on, you do realize your spouse is cheating on you. When are you going to wake up?
No, the king. Well, I was just gonna say the kings and lords, they did have that sacred duty to protect the serfs that were under them, and like if a good king found out that his lord was not protecting the people that served that lord got deposed. And I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that serfdom and feudalism was a good system of government, but I am saying
vote feudalism.
hashtag vote feudalism. Long live the king. Bring back Arthur. But it's the way that checks and balances don't work in the system that we've currently created, because everything is done via corporations and cash flow, and because there are no term limits, the only thing that our senators and congresspeople care about is getting reelected. So they are only focused on that forever and always, because they know that and we're not going to have a peasant uprising with torches and pitchforks anymore. Like they used to be an actual threat. We're not going to, no one does that. So they're not worried about what we're going to do. They're not concerned about it. And they should be. Well, they're not, because we don't have the money to combat them, essentially. And they know it.
And I say this, look, we live in an antiquated system where the Electoral College is superseding popular votes. So it doesn't matter who wins the popular vote, Democratic voters or Republican voters. It matters who wins the Electoral College. Here's what I say. You don't owe the Democratic Party or the Republican Party your vote. Vote third party. Vote independent. And if you can't vote independent, then withhold your damn vote. You don't owe these people a goddamn thing. Start building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C., and start supporting or getting your state to support and build up for citizen ballot initiatives. Because we don't need these politicians. They showed us that they don't care about us. Why do we need them? Let's have democracy in the chat. Do you feel confident in your government representing you? Do you feel represented in your government? Type 1 if you feel confident and represented and that you feel nice and snug in your blanket. Type 2 if you don't.
Well, thank you for the question. One, I've got no information to suggest that the United States was involved in bombing the Nord Stream pipeline.
Because you weren't briefed on it.
Sir, you got your chance to ask a question.
So give me an opportunity to respond.
How dare you speak out against your lord?
You weren't given information.
They're even on Iron Thrones. Like,
shouldn't you inquire, sir?
So here's what I'll say about, I think, President Biden's leadership generally as it relates to the Ukraine and Russia.
We committed an act of war. What are you doing to respond to that? We have to hold Biden accountable. So listen, you're from Brooklyn, right? You know when to call when you see it. So do I. This is right now, and I see what's happening right now.
That does not silence me. You can hear me right now. I want you to say something about the bombing, because we're all going to die from a nuclear war right now unless you stop it and you at least put and inquire into whether or not it's true. This war in Ukraine is going to leave us all dead. So what are you going to do? Because you need to inquire.
Here's
I'm a
what
New
I'll-
Yorker too.
Here's what I'll say.
Say it.
We're going to continue to stand with the Ukrainian people
Do not do that. You will end us all
in
dead.
this war against
We
Vladimir
need
Putin.
peace. We need talks.
Because
Why are
it's
you
not
sabotaging
just-
talks?
it's
Do
not
not put
just
your
a
hands on me.
battle between
We need
Ukraine
peace talks.
and
I am not
Russia.
going to take this.
It's a
We need
battle
peace talks.
It's a
You
battle
are leaving.
between
Listen.
democracy.
I also want to call out all the people who are there listening. You know, a lot of these Democratic voters. I just want to quote something from Bill Burr, where he was calling out a lot of these diehard SJWs and liberals, for example, saying, if we were born during the slavery time or during in Europe during Nazi Germany, I would have been the good person to help out. No, you wouldn't have, because it takes only one brave soul to step up. Everyone knows that this war stands again on the crossroads of the annihilation of the human species. So, everyone should be concerned about this, because Russia's got nukes and so do we. And if somebody pushes that big red shiny button, mushroom clouds in the sky for us all, and the survivors will envy the dead.
Did you even read the
And
allegations?
autocracy, it's a
No.
battle between
How
truth
about
and
accountability,
propaganda,
not
and it's a
airheadedness?
battle between
Okay? How
tyranny
about
and
bridges,
freedom.
not bombs?
And democracy,
Okay? How about
truth, and
conversations,
freedom will
not
prevail. And the
cremation?
United States is going to make sure
Diplomacy,
that happens.
not destruction. How about
I
that?
want to ask you to
How-
join me for
Go ahead.
How is he trying to say that the democracy, diplomacy, and truth will prevail in America, but they're not doing anything to that end? Biden just gave like another $500 million to Ukraine
Yeah,
for
but
like
what-
the war effort there. And I'm just like, but
listen.
question. So
Well,
how, like,
So obviously you're spot on, Lauren, because here's the thing. And look, to our viewing audience members in Ohio, look, I know you guys are dealing with a crisis, and I know you're dealing with a lot, but maybe change your state flag quickly to the flag of Ukraine, and Biden might be senile enough to fall for it. I'm just saying it could work, because for some reason we're able to give millions upon millions upon millions and more upon millions times infinity to this war in
hundreds of
Ukraine.
millions of dollars?
Yes, exactly. But zero to help out the people of
Oh
Ohio.
no, Kit, they got $1,000.
Whoa, big spenders. That's big spending right there. $1,000. That's like that doesn't do anything. Oh God, people of Ohio, I am so sorry. This is, again, we live in an oligarchy. And I am so sorry that's happening to the people of Ohio. And last I checked, Ohio is a major electoral college state. Honestly, the way that this Democratic administration has been treating the people of Ohio, I will be surprised if they get any votes for the Democratic nominee, whoever they may be, because this will come back to haunt them, because everyone sees we got money for war, no money for relief, environmental protections, Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness. I mean, I don't want to hear it from diehard people who vote Democrat, Republican. Oh, Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness is so expensive, we'll be in debt. Man, we are crapping out money to Ukraine, okay? And look, I want that war to end too. I want there to be peace talks. And before anyone types in the comment section below about why we need to do this war, just remember, before the war started, when the Russian tanks were right by the border, and again, the only people I feel sorry for are civilians, Ukrainian civilians, European civilians, Russian civilians, American civilians, because this war is causing economic hardship on everybody. As those tanks were by the border, as I said before, Congress does insider trading, folks. They do insider trading. They were notified when this war was going to take place that the tanks were going to cross the border. And you think our wonderful senators and House representatives quickly rushed to their job to say, hey, we need to do peace talks and have diplomatic discourse right now? No, they call up their stockbrokers to start buying and sharing their stocks that are associated with the military-industrial complex. That's what our also fantastic politicians did. That's what they did.
You're gonna kill us all.
Whoa. So legitimate questions.
Okay, and see, when Fox News is the good guy, things are messed up.
A Pulitzer Prize winning journalist says we blew up the Russian pipeline, and the new Nancy Jeffries is acting like he's never heard of it before. At least tell us it's classified. Let us know someone's looking into it. Don't just drag one of your voters out of the room and move on. That protester speaks for a lot of people on the right and the left. No one knows how long this war is going to last. Russia's a big country. They're going to pump hundreds of thousands of guys into the front lines. It's been their strategy for every war they've ever fought in their history.
It's very true. That's 100% what they do. I feel like I've talked about that on this show before.
Yeah,
like Russia's
go ahead.
not going to run out of people.
Oh, absolutely. And look, here's the thing. There's a reason why Russia is a unified nation in the first place. Just look back in time. At one point, Russia was a bunch of principalities, right? Bunch of kingdoms. Then this guy, no one ever heard of him before. I don't think anyone's ever heard of him. His name was Genghis Khan. So him and his fantastic friends invaded Russia, right? Conquered them. I think only nation to ever do so. Since then, they've been a unified nation. Never again. Just ask the Germans how that turned out for them.
Or the French.
And Ukraine's going to keep fighting for their country.
Yeah, that's right. Napoleon Bonaparte and his fantastic friends tried it out, and it was not.
They tried it first, and then the Germans didn't learn anything from it, and they tried it again, and
it doesn't work.
Well, that's because, like he just said, Russia's leaders, like they just throw the serfs at the people until they stop coming, and then they burn the fields and they back up and trick them into staying there over wintertime, and that's how they win every time.
Aren't Russian winters beautiful?
Country with our weapons. So do American politicians even care what we think?
No.
How is this going to play in the upcoming presidential election? Let's bring in Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, how big of a threat to the
God.
Look at what is she why is that? That is the worst smile I have ever seen in my life.
God.
Also, I'm sorry. I don't care. Like Kellyanne Conway is like Miss Alternative Facts herself.
Yeah.
That's not going to lend any credibility to this segment. He was right up until now.
Oh, hey, Willa Black, be nice. Oh, Christ, it's Skullface Barbie. Hey, Willa Black,
God.
I will not tolerate that kind of violence. Hold on. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do Willa Black. This is for you. Hold on. I'm going to remove you, Lauren. Willa, you are being rude.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, I follow George Conway on Twitter, but like, he's very funny. But she, like, God, every time I forgot that this is what she looks like.
She always keeps on showing up.
Democrats is this anti-war left that suddenly woke up out of hibernation.
It's a very big threat. You see why Hakeem Jeffries, AOC, these big stars in the Democratic Party don't know how to respond to them. They can't scream diversity, equity, inclusion when somebody's saying, why are you involving us more deeply in Ukraine? And look, I think it's not just young people, but the young people also who supported the Democrats by 28 points last.
Again, when you have me say, yeah, Kellyanne Conway has a point, you know things are messed up.
Fall in the midterms and supported Joe Biden by 26 points. They can absolutely bleed young voters by not getting a handle of this, Jesse, because young people are saying, look, we can open our hearts widely to Ukraine, but we don't need to open our wallets infinitely. You feel a lot of people on the right saying that as well, many libertarians saying we can't fund these endless wars. And what a difference it makes. Remember in the Trump-Pence administration when we had our NATO partners, our allies, paying more toward the common defense. Now, if you look at the charts, it's the U.S. footing most of the bill. The EU comes in second, but the EU is a lot of countries. Just the U.S. out there alone. So I think it's a problem for Joe Biden, particularly because he's been in Washington for 50 years, and he was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. He was the vice president for 8 years. He is seen not just as the Loch Ness monster of the swamp, but as somebody who is a, quote, warmonger. They look at Joe Biden as pulling out of Afghanistan with no plan, no rationale, handing over control to the Taliban, and yet getting more deeply involved in Ukraine. I think it's a big problem for them.
Now, again, look, let's be very clear here. We know the hypocrisy of the Republican Party. They're just as bloodthirsty for war as
soon as
anyone
the
else.
Dems are into war, the Republicans pretend like they never were.
Exactly.
Like, and again, and my thing is though, okay, like I talk to a lot of people. I have talked to not a single person, not one, who currently is still for sending all of this money to Ukraine. Like
Yeah,
everybody I talk to, and granted, I talk to a lot of people who are around my age, but like, I mean, I don't, where are they finding the support for this? Because I have not found anybody who still supports this. Like at the beginning, everyone was, the blue and the yellow, like we were all for it, like, support Ukraine, all for that. Excellent, wonderful. But like nobody supports continuing to give them as much money as we are giving them.
Well, it's called this is a proxy war. We are testing various weapons for future military conflicts, and obviously
Is there going to be a future military conflict? Like that's.
I mean, if the military industrial complex gets its way, then yeah, this is a testing ground. And
No, that's what I mean. Like if this is the testing for future stuff, but like if like Jose Vega is correct and like the protesters that are asking about this are correct, there really can't be another conflict after this. This is the last one.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
If soon as the buttons get pushed, we're effed.
I know, and it's something that should concern everyone in the viewing audience here. But unfortunately, we have politicians that are blind on purpose. They're doing this on purpose. They are being deaf on purpose. And all the while, brave individuals like Jose Vega and his colleagues, all the great and wonderful speakers at the Rage Against the War Machine, are calling out as they say it. And look, let's look at that event that took place on February 19th. It was a mixture of libertarians, progressives, liberals, and yes, conservatives and Republicans, libertarians. That is obviously as American as it can get. You got different people of different perspectives. Now, we did our job here at Hard Lens Media by interviewing not only some of the speakers, but also the two main organizers of that event. That's Journalism 101. That's obviously talking about something that's really important, and that is, why is this event taking place on February 19th? Why should we be covering it? Why are all these different groups and individuals speaking there? Why is this important to them? Unlike Rachel Maddow and MSNBC that said that the show or that event was very weird and said this is so suspicious and odd. So, I mean, if they're not going to do their job, at least, we have individuals like Jose Vega and his colleagues and friends actually speaking the truth and calling out these Democratic lawmakers for the hypocrites that they are. Now, he got fired from his job, which is horrible, especially in this economy. And I think wrongly so, because, if I was a betting person, I would say maybe a person who was a friend of some Democratic lawmakers might have made a little phone call and inquiry into a private citizen who again, it is within their right due to the First Amendment, free speech, to call out and to be critical of these politicians. So, Jose, if you're watching this, keep speaking truth to power. We want to have you back on the show, and I will be messaging you personally later after the show is done. So there you go. Lauren, do you have any other final notes you want to add to the story?
I feel like I've said what I need to say about it.
There you go.
I will say, actually, you know what? I lied, because I know the end of that video has those two sort of gloating. It was like, well, maybe we'll get some more young people voting Republican.
No,
and
not going to happen.
I don't think so, bro. What's going to happen is young people aren't going to vote. Like that is probably what's going to happen. Is this, you're going to see a significant drop in the amount of young people voting at all.
Mhm.
Because there is just nobody to vote for. And you'll see more people voting for what they see as the lesser of two evils. You'll see a lot of people not voting at all. You will not see a huge influx of people voting for the Republican Party.
Agreed.